Welcome back to Pod by the Bay, presented by the Bay Examiner. I'm Seth Varnadore, joined by Steeg and a special guest from On 3, Mike Singer. If you've been kind of on USF Twitter, you've probably seen Mike pop up a lot more recently, covering USF recruiting and doing a really good job with that. He also covers Notre Dame for On 3, so he's staying pretty busy and some pretty good recruiting. You're getting to cover some pretty good recruiting right now.
Yeah, it's my time of the year. This is where I get to shine. Maybe not as much during the season as a football recruiting guy, but this is my Super Bowl right now. So keeping busy for sure.
Yeah, and you're getting some pretty good results, I think, on both sides here. So it's not too much of a slog.
Yeah, I'm not really here to talk Notre Dame. I'm here to talk USF. That like the USF run of commits this week, or excuse me, the past week, tremendous. I wrote an article. You can find it on the USF on 3 channel, and it was for like a 6-day span or something. You went from 12 to 21 commits. That Monday was just bonkers. Great time for me to pick up and start covering USF recruiting. I hit the ground running. Ground running, Seth.
I mean, it's no coincidence. I think you're probably there's a correlation there. I think so. Let's talk about your kind of background with USF, right? This isn't your first time covering it, and so what's kind of your relationship with USF and what you've done in the past?
Yeah, so I have been around for a while. My first beat covering football recruiting was. You guys remember that USF McNeese State game? That was my first USF game I ever went to. So I just started. I just graduated high school in 2012, and then that was my first USF game, and I was covering USF recruiting for Rivals. So I went to every home game that year. So first couple of years, dark times, and then went and started covered other schools. So I wasn't covering USF anymore. I covered Louisville, USC. I was kind of like a gun for hire for quite a while at Rivals. So first 2 years out of college, I went to St. Pete College. And then I went to USF St. Pete and graduated there. I went there from 2015 to 2018. So, I was working full-time at Rivals. So it took me 6 years to do 4 years of a degree. But, love my alma mater. And I've been missing covering USF because I did it for those first couple of years of my writing career. And I have the tweet saved. I'll always have this tweet saved. Brandon Walker. You guys know the big Barstool personality, Brandon Walker?
Yes.
Before he started doing that, he was just a newspaper reporter in the Panhandle. And I don't know if you guys know this name, Tyree McCants. He did okay at USF. Yeah, just okay. I broke his commitment. Because back then, we could, as reporters, we could break commitments. The kids wouldn't even put them out a lot of times. We would. I broke, and I'm not trying to pat myself too hard in the back here. I broke Tyree McCant's commitment before he got off the phone with Taggart. And Brandon put that in his tweet. So that is kind of my claim to USF fame. Yeah, so when, I've been following USF from afar a little bit, guys. My Saturdays are mainly on my day job of covering Notre Dame, but I've always been keeping up with the USF program. Spent some dark days, but then following, Alex Golesh from this past season and following their recruiting, I was just like, man, I really want to get back into covering the bowl. So I got some connections pretty quickly. Just kind of those recruiting, nuggets and intel to be able to report on what's going on in the USF land. So I've been doing that for, I don't know, guys, a couple months, and it's been a blast covering USF's 2025 class. Like I'm calling it like my side passion project because I'm just like, I don't get paid a single dime from doing this. This is just all because I love my alma mater, and it's an exciting time to be following USF, and the recruiting is doing pretty well right now. I think it's a pretty solid staff, and I'm really excited about the future of the program.
you're kind of outside of kind of our area, so you're getting, and you talk to a lot of people in recruiting, and covering other teams. You've obviously been able to kind of talk with the people kind of all over. What is the impression that you've heard from kind of people outside on this USF staff and their recruiting style, maybe?
Okay. So I've got connections to people at Tennessee, and everyone absolutely raves about AG and the guys that he has brought in there. And the biggest thing that I had picked up before I started doing this and then starting to do this is the vision for USF. And this isn't specifically recruiting, but like that staff is serious about taking USF to the next level. Now, I don't know if this is like a hot take, but USF has either been like the retreads or the up and comers. Like, which one are you getting? You getting the up and comer who's going through that bigger job, or are you getting, a Charlie Strong or something? Like which is it? Golesh, I feel like, is neither. I from what I understand about him, he is truly into building USF for the long term. They are very aware, talking about USF, of the conference realignment landscape. USF very much feels, from talking to sources, that they are going to be in whatever is next. Is it the ACC? Is it some super conference? Like, USF very much feels like Tampa is a big deal. They have a lot of backing. I've been shocked about how much support I have gotten from like this USF Twitter herd. Like the USF fan base on Twitter is huge. Again, I was on this beat in 2013, 14, but getting back on it now and seeing how big the fan base is on Twitter, I'm taken aback. So it just feels like this is a great time. And I keep saying this, to be a USF fan, because I think you have a staff that is serious about building this thing for the future, because the location is great. You're winning games now. You recruit at a high level. This could be a program that is playing in one of those power conferences, and then you're really cooking with gas. You get out of the AAC and you go play in an ACC or a super conference, whatever's next, and then USF is right up there with everyone else in Florida. Your FSU, your Florida, Miami. So again, I'm fired up over here, boys. I love talking about my Bulls.
Yeah, you can kind of see the investment they're making in athletics the last couple of years, and even like with the baseball hire, I think shows another sign. Like, they're hired a full complement of assistants and also some extra people off the field. Like, not everybody runs the full complement of assistants in baseball, so I think they are spending money with that in mind. So that definitely makes sense.
But Seth, they can't put some grass on, Like,
the grass budget went to baseball assistants.
I mean, can we talk about that? Can we talk about that real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
You kind of talk to some people in recruiting. What have you heard anything on that from kind of people outside of it? Because it seems like we've got some unwritten rules broken there, possibly.
So look, all I know is I had, obviously, when I tweeted that out, right? I think another recruit also tweeted a video of all the cars, and that got some traction. But my tweet of that got over. I had to mute the tweet because it just blew up so much. It had over 800,000, or 750, 800,000 views, and I got the video. Obviously, I wasn't there. I got the video from someone who was there. And so I tweeted out. I didn't even see the grass. I really didn't see I didn't even notice. I'm just looking at these beautiful cars. And the amount of people who are just absolutely trashing USF, who have no idea that USF plays at Raymond James Stadium, just the total idiots out there on social media. Shocker, right? But people just trashing USF as in, like, that's at Raymond James Stadium. That doesn't have any sporting events going on. It's all concerts right now. Like, just the audacity to think that, USF's not in control of this right now. But I was told that USF, because they obviously were aware that the tweet blew up and what the reaction was, they loved it. They did not care one bit. They loved it. The recruits loved it. And the proof is in the pudding guys of what ended up happening from that recruiting weekend. I think there were like 18 or 19 official visitors. A few of them were already committed, and then they landed like 7 or 8 from that weekend. Like, I think they were okay with the grass
Just
at the end of the field.
Just imagine if the grass had been nice. It could have been
right. Could have been 12
more.
or something. Yeah.
So what are the what's the impression you're getting of the staff from people you talk to, just in general, their style in recruiting, any players you've talked to, kind of what is the impression they're giving off? Because they're really good. This has been a consistent theme since Golish has been here. They close really well on these officials.
Yeah.
So what's the impression you get from players and other people you talk to?
Yeah. They have a plan, right? They're not just flying by the seat of their pants here. It seems like a well-oiled machine, lots of energy on the recruiting trail. Really like LaDamian Washington, the wide receivers coach. They just picked up a nice flip from a wide receiver over at Wake Forest. From top to bottom, from the guys in the recruiting office to like the design team that does some of the graphics. Energy. I would sum it up with the word energy, and they execute on that energy, if that makes sense. Like, they have a plan, they execute it, and they do it with a lot of energy. So, and in terms of like the specific coaches, like I just talk about Washington, like I'm still catching up to speed on some of the specifics and the personalities and whatnot. But overall, I see the energy, and I see that at the top you have a head coach who dedicates himself to recruiting. In any line of work, if the guy at the top is busting his ass, that trickles down. And I don't know if I'm sorry for cussing. I don't know if I'm
you're good.
But
that's usually my job.
Yeah.
You have a guy at the top who works hard, it trickles down. Like when I was, covering Notre Dame, Brian Kelly didn't do jack squat in recruiting all the time. So I think his assistant coaches, played a lot of golf too. But USF, these guys, they work hard at it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Because he mentioned it. He did a interview with Adam Berman, and he mentioned that for certain players, whenever they get an offer, usually it's the position coach that will extend the offer. The whole recruiting background of scouting and all that stuff leads to the LaDamian Washington sending the offer, or Coach Hoodie, or whomever it is. But Golish has been sending out offers himself as well to some Bay Area kids. Is that rare for the head coach to kind of step in, like, and be that front face of recruiting? I know for Notre Dame and USF, you're comparing a watermelon to an apple, but like, how does that dynamic work when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah, it's not common. It's not. And I know a lot of the kids, when they're talking about their offers, it's a lot of Golish. The Corey, I think it was Corey Pettigrew kid, a wide receiver from Perry, Georgia. When he got his offer, Golish is the first name that he mentioned. So, to answer your question, it's not common, but it is common with USF. And he's a really good head coach recruiter. And he did a great job at Tennessee, and he's definitely brought it here as well.
Yeah, he told an interesting story. I think it was on the American Football Coaches Association. I had a podcast, and they were talking to him, and he was speaking about when he got the running backs job at Toledo, and he was really trying to figure out, how can I best, get these guys? How can I get the best possible running back? What do I need to teach him? And he said Matt Campbell, who was offensive coordinator at the time, just said recruit one. So it seems like he's taken that to heart and done a really good job throughout his career as a recruiting coordinator. How important do you think last year's success was to kind of solidifying last year's class and kind of building this momentum into year two? He seemed to put, some guys want to come in and just build a foundation. He seemed really kind of determined to have as good as year one as possible to try to kind of almost have a proof of concept to sell.
Yeah.
Is that something you're hearing that's kind of just that positive momentum is really helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what was it? The 7 wins they had last year, that covered like the past 4 seasons before that or something like that. So
pretty close.
When in recruiting, you can sell the future. You'd be like, hey, if you're a wide receiver, let's say USF has a down year throwing the football, and then you sell to the receiver, hey, you're our missing piece. You can do that in recruiting. You can sell, hey, you're the missing piece, but it's always more impactful when you have the proof of concept to show it that, hey, you come here, we can slide you into this role. And then, you talk about early playing time and, things of that nature to even enhance that. So, yeah, showing this is what we just did in 1 year. Look at it, what it was before. Yeah, that's impactful on the recruiting trail, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think Sean Atkins' performance from last season has kind of helped blow up this receivers class for this next year. Kind of seeing, hey, this guy's a former walk-on
Seth,
1,000-yard receiver.
You mentioned receiver recruiting, and it is the Bartley kid, I think, is really good. They have committed Pettigrew, 6'2", 190 from Georgia, outstanding. And then the Wake commit, they just flipped.
Was it Coger?
Yeah, Jeremiah Coger from Baltimore, St. Francis, one of the top high school programs. That's like a top 25 high school program in the country. And then I think they're going to end up with 4. I like USF for Christian Neptune from was it Tate? He is a really good player who Stanford, it was big on him, hosted him for an official visit. I like USF for him. I think they end up getting him, and that's 4. So yeah, you don't get CJ Jenkins. That that's unfortunate. But you get Christian Neptune. That is a top of the board target. So I think he's announcing in 11 days or so. I think it's the 13th. But yeah, you get him. That is a heck of a receiver haul for the Bulls. They just got to close on him.
What have you heard, kind of covering recruiting all over, what have you heard about kind of the recent move towards hosting officials in the summer a lot more often? Kind of what's the reasoning you've heard behind that? They've obviously been able to do it really well, but they have saved a couple officials for the season. What's kind of been the big reason for that shift from what you've seen?
I think a lot of coaches just want recruiting wrapped up before the season, and the kids do too. I hear so often the kids want to take their spring visits. All right, so they're a junior in high school, right? They're going to take March, April visits unofficially to figure out who their top schools are, and then June they're going to take their official visits to those favorite schools that they visit in the spring, and then they're going to commit in June or July. So I always say June commitments, or excuse me, June official visits lead to July commitments. Now for USF, it was just all in June. All those kids just popped right away. For other programs, if you scroll on Twitter and recruiting spaces and whatnot, kids are just flying off the board here now. So that's really it. The kids want to be done before their senior seasons. The coaches want to be done before their football seasons. And the calendar is just so sped up now. USF they don't have many spots left in this 2025 class. Now we'll see if some
plus ones.
If some other programs are going to try to start flipping USF kids, like we'll see how many they end up. But I was told that it was not going to be a big class, and I think their recent run of commitments has already kind of changed their mind on that. So like they're going to end up taking, I think it might end up being around a full boat of 25. But yeah, to go back to your actual question, it's really just a matter of, I think people just want to focus on the
want to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of interesting because you see, you get a lot of pushback from lower level coaches about an early signing period. But I'm interested to see if that's something that gets pushed through eventually, if kind of the college coaches and the player. I know the high school coaches do not like it because they're worried about opt-outs, but if the players and the coaches are both into it, I'm surprised I wouldn't be shocked if we see that pretty soon.
Whether they put it in July or wherever they would put this early signing date, I won't have a really strong opinion until I see it in action, which I know is not really, it's not a great take, but this is my take on the matter. every day, guys, it seems like we're getting some new rule in college football, some
Right.
crazy new thing. Oh, now you can just have unlimited assistant coaches, it seems like. Like, what the hell is going on? The early it's just putting there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Like this is just madness. It's madness. That you know, like every new Madden football game just feels like a reskin from the past year. Well, with this EA college football game that's coming out, it's going to be completely different than the year before because you have all these new rules.
Yeah.
They're going to go right to what is it? Is it 14 or 16 teams they're going to after the 12? Like right away. Is it 16?
They'll probably go to 16 after they got like 3 or 4 years on 12.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think they've got like
Yeah. So
it'll be in the 20s eventually.
yeah, it's just always changing. It's hectic. I still love it, but it's not the college football I grew up with.
Yeah. My head's been spinning ever since like coming on and everything. I was like, oh, recruiting's easily. You just cover it from like August to December, but now it's like, holy shit.
So
all year.
From a USF standpoint, though, this is all good. I think this is good because I think this leads to USF getting into a power conference, which is what we all want. So from that standpoint, I will take it. And USF does well in the NIL space, from what I understand. Again, guys, I'm new. I'm catching up. But from what I understand, they do well. I mean, having all those nice cars out there, you know, sure, it gets some hate on social media, but like USF is playing the 2024 college football recruiting game and transfer portal game, like, and I think they're doing it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. Underrated how well they flipped the roster in year one, and then they've continued to recruit at a really high level. So, all right, so let's talk about when you're not covering recruiting, right? Did I see you do a little streaming, a little Twitch streaming?
Yeah, you know, I've embraced my nerdy side. Like before, I was just very put together. We need to be what I am, kind of deal, public facing. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let it hang a little bit. I'm gonna cover some USF, and I'm sure some people don't like that. I don't really give a damn. For folks watching on YouTube, my second monitor back here is Nintendo controller. Like I'll do some gaming. I'm married for 6 years now. I grew up in Dunedin, wife in Safety Harbor. We have our first on the way in October.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
That's bad. That's big time.
Thank you. So all my family's in Pinellas County, so I'm moving back to Palm Harbor like next weekend. So I'm really excited to not only be close to family, obviously, but to be close to Tampa and be close to USF. With an October due date, I don't really know if I'm and the date, my job covering Notre Dame. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sneak away to any USF games this year. The Memphis one was that the 11th?
Yeah.
That would be perfect for me to be able to go to, but my wife is due the 8th, so we'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make that work, boys. But one way
it's a tight window.
Yeah, to say the least. But look, I love Notre Dame. I absolutely love covering Notre Dame. It's a fantastic school. They value academics. That's a big deal. So I have a passion for covering Notre Dame, but I definitely do with the Bulls as well. From just I went there and now I get to write some articles about them. It's pretty special.
All right, so we're going to see you stream any college football 25. Is that how much of that are you getting into?
Oh yeah. It'll be on my Twitch, Sweaty Mike TV. So a sweat in a gaming sense is like you're trying so hard that it's making you sweat. So my nephews started calling me Sweaty Mike, Sweaty Uncle Mike. So it's just kind of stuff. And I never expected to be Sweaty Mike as a figure here, but I made the dumb decision to go with it. So yeah, you can definitely catch me on my Twitch playing some EA College Football 25. And in my roadmap is doing the USF Dynasty, so that'll be a lot of fun.
There we go. Yeah, we're already planning how we can get as much NCAA or College Football 25 in and make some content out of it. and we're going to try to get a lot in. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you for joining us. Steve, any final questions for Mike?
No, I mean, man, you've been knocking it out of the park. Although I got to say, I hate you because when you tagged me in, I got all of it too. So every like, every reply, I had so many people arguing, and they're still going today. That was what, 2 weeks ago?
You got to mute it.
There are people. Yeah, well, I have it muted now, but I checked it today, and there's still people arguing like USF directional school kind of stuff, and it's hilarious. But no, seriously, man, like, from the humble beginnings of covering the McNeese State game and sitting through that, also my first USF game,
Really?
to come through and to see this all come to fruition, and hopefully it becomes a happy ending. I think it becomes like that special place in your heart. So it's nice to have someone who also shared in the pain of watching a white running back from McNeese State run for 365 yards on us.
Dude, that game was brutal. I was so excited. I went to the spring game, like the spring game that year. I should say, like the season before. It was like my second day of this internship. I went to the spring game, and I was interviewing recruits as they were in the bleachers watching the game, which you're not supposed to do, but somehow I did it. My boss told me to. But yeah, I remember seeing Vincent Jackson Jr. after that McNeese State game, and he was very disappointed. No, that was a core memory. And then I got to ask you guys, the press box food. Is it still burgers and hot dogs?
No. So this is a point of contention. No, I mean, somewhat. So first year I started covering the team 2019 with former site. Food was pretty good.
Okay.
Just normal. Like you get some nice stuff. COVID went to the box lunches.
Yeah.
Haven't gone back since. So
no.
They were like, we can get away with these box lunches. So we're still doing box lunches now.
What is it? Decent. What is it?
It's like a turkey sandwich, ham sandwich. No, it's just like
it's
half frozen, like sometimes still frozen, and an apple, bag of chips, type thing.
The cookies are good.
So now I'm missing the hot dogs and hamburgers from 2013-14.
The Diet Coke is flowing, which is helpful, but they took away straws. So being a psycho, I had to bring my own last year. So just be ready for that. So you just got to be prepared. But yeah, not great, not the worst. But
all right, let me. Hey, Coach Golish, we need to do something about. I'm kidding. I wish. That'd be great. But maybe
why we're accelerating that stadium.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'm so excited about that, boys.
Yeah,
it's a long time away, 2027. But it is going to be amazing. Yes. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for jumping on with us. I'm sure if you'll have us, we'll have you on again as we go through the season here. Awesome job. Appreciate you coming on, and appreciate your work covering USF recruiting.
All right, boys.
Nice to have some other eyes on it, and you're doing a great job. So appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you.
All right,
perfect.
Thanks, Mike. All right, Steeg. Mike was awesome, and I think that's it for this week.
Yeah,
any final thoughts here? Any final thoughts here?
No, I mean. The thing is, it's we waited on this. We could have popped this. Well, we couldn't have popped this last week because I was busy. But we want to kind of sink in the moment for a little bit with what happened, because we haven't seen something like that happen in ever since I've been covering USF. We haven't had like consecutive names get dropped like this, but. Now it's, the game has changed a little bit. Now it's no longer, when we talked about the different roles and, who's doing what and everything like that, there was a new position created for USF, the Director of Internal Recruiting. And that's USF objective from now until December 20th, right? Early signing day. It's about keeping the kids committed and keeping the guys that are already in the program committed. And yeah, I mean, we'll be following along. You know, we try to put out feelers and try to figure out what's going on, but ultimately it's up to, you know, the players, the staff, and who wants to spill information. And sometimes you get surprised by things, and that's always pleasant, and sometimes it's not always pleasant. So we'll be along for the ride one way or other.
Yeah, and thanks again to Mike. Follow Mike on Twitter at Mike T. Singer. Follow Mike at Mike T. Singer. Thanks again to Mike for coming on. Steeg, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.